So we're finally back racing some ARL in MxBikes, and this is round 9 at Ironman, and the track was a lot better than I expected it to be, because Washougal was very flat and very boring, but this track was actually rough. It is probably also one of the most technical layouts of the year. Overall very fun track. The racing side of things not so fun. They ran really high road, they ran like 0.1, which for you who don't race that much, the track was very beat up after Moto 1, probably as beat up as it is usually at the end of Moto 2 in normal cases, and with the track being rougher and more technical than the other tracks, in Moto 2 it was just trying to survive, to be honest, and I thought I'd just look into some interesting lines as well. So the first part of the track I want to look at is this first S section right after the whole shot corner, and first of all I suggest you go to the right here, because although it is very smooth on the left side right here, once you get to the end here it is very tight and you have this kind of bump, so you have to slow down a lot and you can't really carry your momentum or speed out of the corner. So the right side is a lot better, and that is what we did in the races. As for the lines, you can take any of these 3 lines. However, if you take the two to the left, you end up over here. It's not the biggest deal, but you have to also think when you end up here, you'll end up having to take this line, and you cannot slamming into the rut right here, which could be a little bit tricky and it could lose you some momentum and speed if you don't do it right. While if you end up on the right side here, you can just flow through the corner, smooth, carry your speed and momentum. So let's look a little bit closer on the inside line. You can first notice that I'm going in a bit wide here and I'm just opening up the corner. Next thing is you want to make sure that you get settled into the rut, because if you don't really get settled into the rut, you could end up going a little bit sideways and it will mess you up. But the most important part is right here, because these 2 bumps are quite big and it is right before the corner. So what I try to do in the races and in hot laps is I actually jump off of this, and then I'm jumping all the way over these 2 bumps. So you can see jumping off here, I'm jumping over this first one. The rear tire is kind of down on the ground still, but that doesn't really matter. Moving on, I'm getting over this bump right here as well with the front tire, and even though my rear tire is on the ground, the important part is that you get your front wheel above the ground, because if your front wheel goes down in between these bumps, you're gonna start to go up and down, and we don't want that, because we want the bike nice and settled. For the rear tire, that will just soak up everything if you just have some throttle, so that will work on its own. So important part, get your front wheel over the bumps, and then I'm landing over here and I can just focus on the corner. This is probably the most tricky line to get consistent, and the idea here is we want to jump from here all the way and land outside this. So the way that we do this is we first want to get the right angle. We want to get the right angle to jump and land behind this. The next thing, as you may notice, is that I'm letting off the throttle right here. This is because I want to let the bike settle to the ground to gain traction. You can see I'm off the throttle here, I'm starting to get some throttle again, and then I'm kind of seat bouncing, and then I'm just flying over and landing on the other side. First, let off the throttle to let the bike settle, gain traction. Then we kind of blip the throttle to first compress the suspension, and then we want the suspension to rebound when we are taking off in a seat bounce. And blipping the throttle gives us forward momentum and helps you get this pop that you want. So use this small blip of the throttle at the end, kind of to get the speed and the lift to get over the jump. Once we've done that, we want to land. We preferably want to find one of these ruts to hook into. It could be a little bit tricky because you're kind of coming sideways, so you have to be a little bit careful. Don't go too fast, don't have too much throttle, because then you're probably going to the side and out of the track. And then we just want to save the bike and start to continue going to the rest of the track. So the next part I want to look at is this corner before this huge plateau jump, which is really hard to get over on a 250. So the idea here is we want to be able to get as much speed coming into the corner as we possibly can. And we do this by jumping off of this bump right here, and then jumping and landing on the downside on the other side right here, just to help us carry the more speed into the corner. And we set this up already on this bump right here. So the idea is we come here, we jump, land in this scooped out area, and downside the other side of this last bump. So you can see here, coming here, and we kind of jump over and aim to land right here. We then land here, and we have full throttle, and we kind of seat bouncing to get as much lift as we possibly can to try to get over this. And as you can see, I'm kind of landing on top here, and the important thing is we get our speed and carry our momentum into the corner to be able to have as much speed as possible and hopefully clear the huge jump over here. So that's kind of the interesting lines on this track. Hopefully there are some interesting lines next week on Unadilla, and that is my favorite track of the year, so hopefully I can do that and I perform well. So yeah,